Howdy friends, and welcome to another great adventure with Wild Bill. Today's adventure starts with a scenic drive to Capitol Reef National Park in the great state of Utah. Capitol Reef National Park is located near Torrey, Utah, which is about 220 miles south of Salt Lake City, 453 miles west of Denver, and about 330 miles northeast of Las Vegas, Nevada. You can see from this map that Capitol Reef isn't your typical national park with a concentrated point on the map, but rather it is a 100-mile plus sliver of land that encompasses 377 square miles. The park was established in 1971, and it showcases the Water Pocket Fold, which is a dramatic wrinkle in the Earth's crust. From the Cathedral Valley District in the north to the Water Pocket District in the south, you will witness this majestic and magnificent geological wonder as you drive through Utah. With somewhat limited access, the National Park Service has quite a few resources, including maps with hiking trails, scenic drives, as well as geological and historical information. Well, we've all heard the phrase, "It's not about the destination, but the journey." This is probably one of the most true statements if you come to Capitol Reef from the southwest. Just outside the entrance to Bryce Canyon National Park, if you turn right on Highway 12, it will take you to the south, heading to Canyonville, and then up through Escalante and Boulder. And here you will be treated to one of the most scenic drives in the United States, according to multiple publications. I saw this road on a YouTube video several years ago where people filmed the entire thing for about 30 minutes. And I told myself, if I ever came out this way, I would definitely take the drive. The thing that is so spectacular about the drive is the road between Canyonville and Escalante as you ride a ridge where you have deep canyons on both sides of the highway. Just outside of Canyonville, you will witness the Grand Escalante Staircase National Monument off in the distance. There are several different pull-offs and viewpoints along this route to pull over and snap some photos. It's a great road with good pavement and not too many twisty turns, but just enough curves to make it fun to drive. You definitely want your passenger manning the camera, however. Here is the ridge drive, along with the deep drop-offs on both sides of the road that caught my attention originally. We traveled in the fall and were treated to some beautiful groves of aspen as they were changing color. As you go past Escalante, you will get a spectacular view of Capitol Reef National Park as it stretches across the eastern horizon. As you pass through Grover on Highway 12, and come to Highway 24 in Torrey, you will turn right. There you will be treated to some spectacular scenery. The road will take you to the historic Fruita Campground area just past the Capitol Reef Visitor Center. One of the unique things about this campground is that it is nestled among multiple orchards in and around each of the campground loops. Loop A appears to be a newer loop with nice sites and newer bathrooms. Most every campsite has shade and good driveway pads. We didn't video every campsite because you'll see they're all pretty much the same. We're going to highlight quite a few of the campsites. We found several accessible campsites within Loop A that were not designated ADA, but most certainly would work well. Loop B had multiple accessible campsites, with one campsite number 26 being the designated ADA site. Loop B also has 5 walk-in sites, sites number 43 through 47. Loop C appears to be the older section of the park where you don't have as much concrete and asphalt, but you also have much bigger campsites in this loop. Loop C also has a designated ADA campsite, number 63, and I noted other sites that would also be accessible. There is no electricity in the entire park, and water is available at the bathrooms. There are also no showers. As we begin our drive, site number 4 is a nice site with plenty of shade. You'll notice the concrete curbing around the asphalt pad. It does have a little cutout so that you can get to the picnic table. Most of these were steep enough that they would not be wheelchair accessible, but several of them had dirt high enough to work. For example, site number 5, the ground is quite level to the picnic table area, and I deemed that one accessible. Most of the sites have a fairly wide driveway, with some of them being basically double wides, which for accessibility purposes, if you had a trailer, you could scoot the picnic table over onto the asphalt pad or set up your own tables there and basically have an entire paved campsite. Sites like number 8 back up against the fence. I think they are double wide because the campsites don't go back very far. Most of the campsites are pretty close together, so you're not going to get a ton of privacy at any of the sites, except for maybe a few on the backside of Loop A, B, and C. We came across site number 14, and even though it wasn't ADA accessible, it was paved, had concrete to the picnic table, a raised fire pit, so it was definitely accessible. It also had a nice paved path over to the bathroom. Site number 15 was accessible if you stayed on the asphalt pad, and we noticed a lot of people had moved the picnic tables up on the paved asphalt pad. Site number 22 had a lot of shade, but very little grass because of that. Site number 24 was great, and even though it wasn't marked as the ADA accessible campsite, it certainly had all the makings of a great campsite, with the concrete around the picnic table, raised fire pit, and raised grill. It was also right next to the bathrooms, which were accessible, and had a community sink for gray water. There are no showers, even in these new bathrooms on this loop. Site number 26 is the designated ADA site in Loop B, and it has some of the same features, although they're a little hard to see here. You do have the paved path to the picnic table, and it's right next to the bathroom as well. Site number 28 was a great campsite with good shade and a wide driveway. Here on Site 31, you can see how somebody moved the picnic table up on the asphalt pad. Just past campsite number 36, you can see a small footbridge that goes over the ditch there. We saw several deer lying in the ditch at a couple of places throughout the park. Site number 40 was another site with plenty of asphalt parking and a fairly flat campground area, and it had a lot of shade. Site number 41 was a nice site, and again, you can see the table up on the pad. The big bonus to this site was it came with its own turkey dinner. Here you can see the orchard that is nestled between the B and C loops. Be sure to read the information regarding the orchards on the National Park Service website with Capitol Reef, because they have a long history dating back into the 1800s. You can see that campsites in this loop don't have all the concrete and new asphalt like Loop A and B do, but they do have a lot more room between them, and some of the sites are quite nice. Sites number 57 and 59 were nice, but they just didn't have a lot of shade. Here's an example of a water faucet and water fountain that you will find in the campground, in here and in the other loops. I didn't find many accessible sites in the C loop, as number 63 is the only designated ADA site. Number 71 was the only other site I found that was accessible. Well, that wraps up our individual campsite review. We saw several deer hanging out in the campground, and they were both bucks, which is unusual. These guys walked around like they owned the place, and one laid in the shady ditch the whole time we were there. Leaving the campground and heading back to Highway 24, we took several dirt roads down a little bit, but were hesitant to pull our trailer down unfamiliar roads. As far as driving and seeing the park, along Highway 24 is pretty spectacular, especially if you head north on Highway 24. We were pulling our trailer, and I was hesitant to go on some of the recommended drives to Monument Valley because I saw where some of them had water crossings, and I didn't want to get in a situation where I had to back my trailer up. We filmed this trip during our drive from Bryce Canyon heading towards Arches National Park and Canyonlands National Park near Dead Horse Point State Park near Moab, Utah. Here are some of the panoramas that we encountered. You can certainly find a lot more interesting scenery throughout the park. If you want to spend several days here, there's probably at least 2 or 3 days of scenic drives that you can take if you had a vehicle with some good clearance or 4-wheel drive. Not to mention the hiking trails back into each one of these areas has some pretty spectacular trails and rock formations. Well, friends, I hope you enjoyed the tour down Highway 12, heading to Capitol Reef National Park, visiting the Fruita Campgrounds, and taking a short tour of some of the sites that are along this 100-mile park. Be sure to refer back to the campground worksheet in the description of this video for more detailed information about each campsite. And be sure to like and subscribe to this channel so you won't miss any of my future episodes, and you can catch up on maybe some that you missed. If you enjoyed the information that's presented, let me know, and I have a lot more episodes coming up. So until next time, so long.